Good morning, everybody. Most people measure success by what you build. But what if the real story is how you had to survive to get there? Today's guest is someone who completely redefined what winning looks like, from 80-hour work weeks in the restaurant industry to battling addiction, to moments where everything nearly unraveled, to building a real estate business rooted in something most people overlook, and that's human connection. But this isn't just a business story. It's a story about loss, about identity, about learning, and about the hard way, that becoming better matters more than becoming bigger. Today, I'm sitting down with Nathan White, Realtor and team leader from Real Columbus. Hi, Nate.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm so happy that you joined me today.
Thanks,
we had one conversation in Columbus at a Real Producers event, and I said, this guy's pretty cool. So thank you for agreeing. Maybe you'll regret it. I don't know.
Maybe you'll regret it.
Nah, I doubt it. But before we get into the thing about what you built, well, let's start with you. In doing my research, you've been known to say, become better, not bitter. Where was that mindset born from?
I guess it's about choice is what I would say. I have plenty of reasons, I guess, to be bitter, right? I mean, I've lost a kid, regret, pain, but I guess if I stay bitter, then the pain wins. So, better, I guess lets hard stuff, kind of shape me instead of poisoning me. You can use it to grow, to love better. I don't know. I guess live with more intention. It's easy to be pissed off all the time. Yeah,
and most people are.
Yeah, they are. They get good about the dumbest shit, so it's like, it's kind of that old adage. Is it going to matter in 6 months, a year, or 3 years from now? Most of the time, no, it's not.
Right. Right. So, and I think you need to live through some stuff to get to that point, right?
I think we all do. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You actually posted something about this is totally off the script, but about a couple months back where it said people go to therapy because of the ones that should be going to therapy. Something like that. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes you have to look at what happened to actually become a better person.
Yeah.
And you talked about a lot of your life, you were worried about what others thought about you, for other people's validation. What's that?
I said, still to this day.
Why?
I don't know. I think, I'd tell you from a therapist standpoint that it's because I spent my childhood seeking the approval of either an adult or a parent or one thing or the other. And you continue to do that. It's, I don't know. Some people say it's the ADHD. They say it's a lot of different things. I think, a lot of mine is just shaped from some trauma in the past.
Like being a parent now. I mean, I know my parents did the best they could with the three of us. I have two brothers.
Yeah.
So, there's certain things that you do just to replicate what your parents did. And then there's some things that you tweak. What do you do differently, you think, with your son that you don't want him growing up feeling like he needs to be validated?
Don't hide anything from him. My wife and I are very open and honest with our son. Because again, it's the past. You can't escape it, right? Like, right. This kind of what I learned as we grow older. I used to be ashamed of my past and the drug issues and all the shit that I did. But the thing is that left me, powerless in a sense. And so when you own it and when you accept it, then nobody can take it away from you. Like, somebody be like, Nathan, you're a drug addict. Yeah. And
right.
So
not anymore. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's been a long time, but like, I was so ashamed of stuff like that. So when you at least accept those things, I guess, you're not powerless anymore.
Did it take you a while to accept that? That's tough. That is tough to accept when we all have our own cross to bear and we all have our own personal low point. And it is hard to grow from that. Did it take you a while to like climb out of that? I don't want to say hole, but like that mental or like you were ashamed or felt guilty about it.
I was in my 40s before I even began to accept any of that. So, it took a long time. I was trying to think about that. If I could go back and tell my 25-year-old self, I'd tell him a lot, right? But
yeah,
sometimes it's we need some seasoning, I guess.
Mhm.
But I think once you stop, at least try to stop chasing approval or
Mhm.
whatever version of me I thought other people wanted, it feels a lot better, right? Because
Mhm.
otherwise, everywhere you go, you're just wearing a mask depending on the room, that you
Right.
walk into, right? And
Mhm.
the problem is you spend your whole life trying to be what everybody else wants, and you got no clue to who you actually are, and that's pretty exhausting.
For sure. For sure it is. And it's hard to be okay with your authentic self, because, we could be edgy, we could be sassy. And if people don't like it, it's not like, oh, well, whatever. But it always takes a little bit of understanding of people to understand why they come across a certain way. And if you can accept that in yourself, then it doesn't really matter. Like, what do they say? Nobody else's opinion matters, about you. It's not
That's
your
right.
business.
It's none of your business. That's
None of
right.
your business.
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, we don't have to get, too crazy into this because this is personal. And I know, you've had other struggles, moments that probably completely changed the world that you and your wife lived in. You went through something no parent should ever have to face with losing a child.
Yeah.
How did that loss change you as a person?
Ooh, wow, that's deep. Um, I mean, it changed everything, really, right? It kind of splits your life in half: the before and the
Yeah.
after, right? Do this and not cry.
I'm sorry, Nathan.
No, it's okay. I don't mind it, because I can't. It broke me in ways I can't fully explain. Um, it forces you to look at things different.
Mhm.
It makes you realize really how fragile life is. It makes the small stuff real small. um,
Yeah.
it deepened my empathy. It gave me this lens, a different one, I guess, for pain, and for people and purpose. But I mean, I'd give anything to have him back. But it does shape you. I mean, you had those are life moments that you learn the strength of a marriage. You learn the strength of you. I mean, there's a lot that shaped my life after that. I mean, there's the before and after.
Yeah.
And many people could probably that know me well would be like, yeah, there's definitely the before and after.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's not one of those things that, I'm in a club, my wife and I are in a club that nobody wants to be in. So when people
Right.
have child loss that know or aware of us, somehow we usually get connected. And I'm like, look, it's not a thing that goes away. It's you
Right.
learn to tolerate the pain, uh,
Mhm.
I guess, better or differently.
Mhm.
I mean, it's something you think about every day. I mean, I have a bracelet that I had custom made that had some of my son's ashes in it that I wear every day, everywhere I go, because I
Mhm.
want to take him everywhere I go. My other son was 3 when we lost Reagan, right? Or 4, right?
Mhm.
It's wild the memories he still has, because occasionally he'll go, God, I wish my brother was here. And you're like, oh, it just, breaks you. So yeah, it changed everything. It's fair to say.
You mentioned being in a group that nobody wants to be in because we have 2 kids with disabilities,
Right.
and we don't talk about it a lot.
Right.
But when we're in a community with other parents with kids with disabilities, it makes it so much easier. Just talk.
Yeah.
No one tries to fix. They just listen. Do you find that you have that type of community if you go searching for it, or do you and your wife handle things on your own?
I've found 2 things. One, there is the people that, for lack of a better term, they want to empathize with you, but they do it inappropriately.
They don't know how. Yeah, I get.
Right. Yeah, they just don't, and they
Right.
try, and it comes out really wrong. And if you're somebody like me, I have to, that doesn't have a filter. It's hard,
It's hard.
I can think of an experience once, and it's like, I remember when we went through that. I was like, what are you fucking talking about? Your kid's standing next to you, right? So there's that group, and then there are the others, but it's not. I don't think. I guess since I'm more vocal about it and I talk more about it now,
Mhm.
it's different than it was, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's a club that nobody wants to be in.
Mhm.
So a lot of people don't talk about it.
Yeah.
There are those that do, but for me, talking about it makes it a little bit better.
Well, you turned something like tragic into something very, very positive with creating the Reagan Michael Fund.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that, because my research, I read it, but I want the audience to hear what it's all about. It's pretty
Okay.
remarkable.
So right when I got into real estate, this is all around when I just got into real estate too. I was working at a bar called Pies and Pints over at Easton, and I won this contest to go to Cleveland, make a beer with Fatheads, because I knew all those guys. And I wanted to name the beer actually after a Hall & Oates song, oddly enough.
Which one?
I was going to, I don't know, I thought like Man Eater or Adult Education. And I wasn't going to tell anybody why. I just wanted to know if they'd pick up on the reference, right?
Please, I wish. Well, I mean, I get why you didn't, but that would have been amazing.
Yeah,
anyways.
Right. Yeah. And of course, we lost Reagan. I did not go make the beer. Two of my friends, Robbie Lindeman and John McMahon, went in my place. And they were up there making it. And they called and me and my wife and said, hey, Fatheads wants to make a beer in honor of Reagan, and they want to donate the money to you. And
awesome.
we were like, hey, that is great, but we don't want the money. We want the money to go to people that really need it. We were fortunate that we had the means and the resources. And so for us, it was like, hey, let's honor him, but we don't, I don't know. I just felt weird about that. I still feel weird about doing things in his honor at times that I feel like benefit me, if that makes any sense. Right. And so they were like, well, what do you want to name it? I'm like, I don't got any fucking clue. And they're like, well, it's made with comet hops. And they go, and my buddy John's like, Reagan's Comet. That was like it's a fire that burns bright and quick, and you don't see it all the time, right? And I was like, all right, we love it. And so Fatheads was like, hey, we're gonna make this beer, and we did a fundraiser. Kind of simultaneously, all this stuff's happening. Marty is a chaplain at Ohio Health, had reached out because I had called her about some questions. She said, you can actually have the hospital be the administrator of it for the 501c3, because my other thing was I didn't want to raise money and 90% of it go to some CEO's pay that lives at Muirfield.
Right.
It's not my jam, right? And so I really wanted to emulate kind of like what Pelotonia did, you know, like everything they raised goes to cancer research. I wanted whatever we raised to go to the families that we could, you know, directly impact. And they were like, yeah, we can do that. So we opened up it up through Ohio Health, and now it's grown to where it will go from a fund to an endowment. We're like right here to where it'll last in perpetuity. We've raised enough money, and it's to help like families in high risk OB or whatever that situation is. Ohio Health's building an entire women's center that's all dedicated to women. That I think is fascinating because one, as a man, we don't know shit about women's issues. And we saw a lot of women that were single or come from domestic violence situations or one thing or the other. There was a woman who was going to be evicted out of her home while she's on bed rest in a hospital. It's kind of like, it's kind of fucked up, right?
Right.
And it's nice because the hospital will call and say, hey, we have a family in need. Can we take money from here? And you know, they'll write a check to pay for their rent, to pay for their electric.
Awesome.
And then
they don't have to fill anything out.
No.
That's awesome.
Write a check. All they need is our permission.
Awesome.
So Fathead still continues to support us and make the beer, which I think is, we never thought that it'd be like this thing that keeps going, right? So it's cool. Really cool that they do it. You know, there's irony because I don't drink, but yet we have a beer made on our mind.
A lot of people do.
Yep, right. And they still do it. And so it's really cool. And then every year during Christmas, we always at least, I like to say sponsor, not adopt, at least a couple families. And through the fund too, we take care of their entire Christmas. In fact, last year, 2 years ago, there was a realtor here that lost their child in November. And it was weird because that was the first time that like, it was somebody I knew, like, you know, and it affected a colleague. But at the same time, it was great to be able to say, hey, I know you got enough on your plate. All your children that you currently have, the Christmas, all that, we're going to we take care of all of that. So it's great. Probably the best part of Christmas every year. I that's my gift that I get.
Yeah.
So we continue to do that. Yeah. And Fatheads continues to support it. And so I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it's you've been working obviously emotionally and psychologically on your well-being, but then you started running like crazy ultras. Yeah, I ran 2 half marathons and I said, okay, I'm done. How the hell? What did that teach you about yourself mentally?
we're capable of way more than we think.
That's for sure.
You can't run from everything, though.
It's true.
I ran hundreds and hundreds of miles, and at some point the pain will catch you, and it's not the physical pain; it's the other. And so you know, I before would drink it away. When I stopped drinking, I just run it away. Well, you can't. I mean, you can't outrun that shit. And so at some point you got to deal with it.
Yeah, running can become a vice. That's for sure.
Oh yeah,
a positive vice, but
it was. I mean, listen, it was kind of it still is a. I don't run near as much. I'm getting back to it, but in a sick, twisted way, it's it's pain and pleasure.
Oh, I understand. Not to that level, but 13 miles of it I do. So let's take it back just a minute, because we're going to get into real estate, but you used to work 80-hour weeks at the restaurant. That is a grind. You're on your feet. You're working with emotional people. Everything is on time, has to be catered, customer service. It's fun and exciting, but when did you say, okay, I got to pump the brakes? Like, this is just too much.
Well, when somebody couldn't pronounce salmon right, and I lost my shit on a table, basically. And,
no, not quesadilla?
Yeah, right. And it was just kind of an aha moment. Like, I gotta get done.
Oh no.
And it's I'm not the most I guess politically correct person, in the sense of I don't have a filter, and it just got to a point I'm like, why am I doing this, right? 80 plus hours a week. I'm chasing a title, and men honor titles. Titles do not honor men.
Right.
And, it was just enough. And I thought, well, if I'm going to work this hard, it should be for myself. Luckily, I had a little background. My father's a custom home builder, so I knew a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm grateful for it. You know, yesterday I was out with one of my business partners, and he's like, dude, he came out of the restaurant industry. He's like, we could be stuck in a restaurant. Instead, we're out showing houses, driving around this beautiful land, doing this. And I'm like, you're 100% correct. But the restaurant industry, again, is another one of those things that gave me a lot of tools. I won't knock it in the sense of
hard work, man.
Well, and what we do in real estate is very relatable.
You have to be able to handle every single type of customer. Translates right into a buyer and seller, and regulate the filter to help your now buyers and seller get to the end point where they want to be. So you shared with me very quickly when we met the first time that you went to Chip and Stu's house for a graduation party, big agents down there in Columbus, discussed real estate, and then dropped everything in restauranteering and jumped into our industry.
I would say the only correction is I met Chip and Sue at a friend of ours' graduation party.
Not their graduation party.
Not Chrissy, their daughter, but a friend of theirs that was a client of theirs.
Okay.
A mutual friend of mine. And that was like a Sunday afternoon, and we got to talking, and Chip and Sue, you know this, that, and the other. And it all worked out too, because, we have life events. Well, my wife and I discussed it, and she said, "You want to resign?" I said, "Yeah, this is what I want to do." She was fully supportive, because I think she knew what I knew, which I don't think our marriage would have lasted if I'd have stayed in that industry. And so I was resigning, and then the day that I resigned, I also got fired. So
did you beat them to the punch?
I did not. It was great that I didn't, because then they had to give me unemployment, which was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I got, it worked out for the better, but it was one of those things that, call it a God moment, whatever you want to call it. While I was terrified at the same time. I mean, I literally laughed, and they thought, "Why are you laughing? You're getting fired." I was like, I was going to resign today. You guys just did me a favor, and kind of skipped my way out the door.
Yeah, it worked out. Let me ask, did Chip and Sue ask you to pronounce realtor? And did you say realtor like salmon?
I say a lot of things weird, so there is the possibility, being from Georgia, I say water and oil and things that are, constantly made fun of, but it's all right. I do correct people on the realtor now, because I don't go to a docator.
A docator, yeah. Oh, we do up here in Cleveland. Anyways, so now you're leading a team, which is completely a different responsibility. You say we don't treat clients like transactions; we treat people like people. So how does it show up in your day-to-day work in real estate?
How does it show up day to day? I guess it shows up in honesty and listening. like myself and Yoshi and Michael, my two partners in what we do, I don't even like to be considered a lead. We're all equals. We don't push people into making decisions because we want a paycheck. What do we call it in our industry? Commission breath or whatever. I think, it means, buying and selling a home's tied to something bigger, right? So you got stress, transition, change, growth, all these things happening at once. Just treating people means that I remember it's not just business for them. This is their life we're dealing with, right? So we try to lead with some empathy and some communication and really doing what's best for them, leading with the right intention, because ultimately I know that the three of us believe that if we lead with the right intention, the back pocket will be fine. Mm-hmm. But you see, in our industry, depending on who you are, I feel like sometimes agents make decisions based on the check, not the person. And then that's dangerous. It's a slippery slope, I guess is what I'd say.
It is. And we're in a commission-based industry where it's scary. You don't know where your next paycheck's going to come in. But if you lead with abundance, like a service heart, but genuinely do that, just don't throw that around. It sounds like that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and then I think the other side is just supporting each other. We check in every day. What do you need? Who needs help? This. I think it's really about the right intention. It is the servant's mentality, if you would.
Yeah. So. And one more thing about your team, though, your brand is do different. You can even see from your marketing, on a couch, in a robe, with a fluffy hat. What is so important about, I guess authenticity. What is so important about that branding, do different, to your team?
I'm going to ruffle some feathers, what I'm going to say. Most realtors aren't creative. They don't think for themselves. They just copy all the same shit everybody's doing. But they couldn't tell you the reason why they do it. Ask a realtor why they put their picture on a card. They don't know. They'll just say, well, I do. Why? Because what's my brand? Bullshit. Like, why do you put it on there? It's because somebody else did, and they think it's a good idea. And I literally was studying my feed one day, and I've heard a couple of speakers, and I've preached this drum for a long time, or beat on this drum, but like every realtor looks the same. They do the same shit. Come take a look at 123 Main Street with me. Just listed, just sold. There's nothing, there's no thought to what they're doing. They're copying, pasting what somebody else has done. And so do different is, well, if you want to do different, you're going to stand out. Actually, that's going to get people to pause. That's going to get people to stop and go, well, why are they different than everybody else? Because we are not like everybody else. Right. But the rest of you all look the same. And I've preached authenticity for the longest time. Funny enough, now they're talking about, you need to be your authentic self. No shit, Sherlock. I'm not the most polished guy. I just had a conversation with the colleague's wife last week. She's like, I probably never hire you based on your look. And I said, that's your mistake. That's okay. I said, I'm not struggling for business either, though, right? So, I'm tattooed and foul mouthed and, very opinionated. I don't wear a suit and tie, but there's enough people out there who prefer the straightforward, honest, no bullshit approach. And so doing different to me is really not different. It's being who you are.
Absolutely. And there's enough business for everybody. And you're going to want to, the people that want to work with you, you're going to want to work with them because you're both hiring one another. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And then, some people's whole identity is wrapped up in being this realtor.
And that's okay for them.
That's fine for them, right? But it's just not, it's not our jam. If you saw I don't know, did you see the new listing video we did with the 153 acres down in, no. I'll have to send you that. I'll say it. Nobody's done a video like that. Mm-hmm. It's cinematic. It's beautiful. It's storytelling. It's not just listed. When, we have a whole series coming on around the couch. I won't just tell you that it's going to be cool. It's going to be way different. The marketing that we do is different. And we're not, I don't know. I guess it goes back to kind of one of our core principles is we're not in the business of listing houses. We're in the business of selling houses. Mm-hmm. Just doing different.
Well, and I like that. So, at one point it's like, I want to stand out to my industry. But what I'm hearing from you did this beautiful video on 153 acre. That to me is your selling point to your seller. Like, let the industry do what the industry does, because it's easy to not recreate the wheel. You did not recreate the wheel being a good servant. Maybe your mindset's different. Your creativity is different. And your seller is going to have an approach that no other seller is going to have. So that's really cool. Let everybody do their thing. We do our own because we don't care truly about what everybody else is doing.
I agree. It makes me think of when I was in the restaurant industry, my wife and I and friends would go out. We'd have a bad experience. And when we'd leave, you know, you always get the, how was everything? And I go, great. And my friends would be like, dude, that was fucking horrible. Why'd you tell them that? And I said, because I want them to keep doing what they're doing. So if you think just listed, just sold works, keep on. Good for you. I'm just not going to do that. Do I think that some of that's necessary? Sure. But I just think that I tell people, be more original.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't have that part of you, then that's okay. It's okay. It's just not your thing, but it's yours, which is really cool.
Best ideas are stolen.
Yeah. Well, it's true, right? But being yourself is, I think that's number one. Believe me, I'm not a professional podcaster, but it's really fun to interview interesting people like you. And it's like, hey, people might think it's hokey, but I think it's awesome because they get to really understand who you are more. And then that kind of reflects out in the industry. Like, you know what, I saw that. And Nathan has all this. I didn't realize that, because he comes off as a, grittier than others. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, whatever.
You're right. I've had 100 people say, shit, I had you all wrong. I thought you're a complete asshole. I have a wall. I have a requirement that you get to know me before I do anything.
Yeah.
And if you choose to do that, great. You'll probably realize I'm not that bad. I'm actually a pretty kind, empathetic, loving person that wears his heart on his sleeve. But if you don't, you're probably going to think differently about me.
Right. And you have every right to put up boundaries and walls. I mean, listen, and I think that's a beautiful thing about aging. As we get older, it's easier to say no and create boundaries that protect us and our family. So yeah, more power to you. Last thing I want to ask you have shared quotes like fail again, fail better. We all fail forward. That's a new real estate thing after reading books. But I want to say, if somebody's struggling right now and they're listening and they're feeling like they need to validate, they feel like they need to check every single box, what would you tell them so they don't get into a dark place that maybe you have experienced in the past?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot there, because you talk about Samuel Beckett's quote that I love, which failure's been my greatest teacher. Some of my biggest breakthroughs came after I fell flat on my fucking face, because it humbled me, but at the same time, it sharpened me. Mm-hmm. It made me more self-aware. I would never be, I wouldn't be where I'm at without it. I think failure is actually, it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. If you can listen to it, and then you talk about like the last piece, I guess, is, no matter, I guess, how hard you try, you're never going to make everybody happy. I just wrote about that last week, because I kind of went this thing again. And again, I let a couple, 2-3 people get in my head. Mm-hmm. And I guess if you have if you think your identity is built on other people's approval, then your piece is always going to be in somebody else's hands. And I literally just recently experienced that. And I know this, right? I can sit here and talk about it because I've played this game for a long time. But there's a better path to learning who you are, and owning it, I think, is first, and being okay with the fact that some people aren't going to like you. That's fine. I've come to the understanding, at least a belief, that my job, again, is not to be liked by everyone. My job is just to be the real me.
Yeah. And I think we will leave it on that perfect note. I like that, Nathan White. Yourbomb.com. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to another edition of Tenacious J. Nathan, I can't thank you enough for being on there today with me.
Thanks for having me.
And let's sell a home together. Bye, guys.
I think the video I'm mentioning is on Michael's page, but I'm going to